Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on high-performance computing. Today, my guest is Cherri Pancake. Cherri is a professor of electrical engineering and computer science at Oregon State University. And Cherri, I'd like to welcome you to the show today.
Well, thank you very much, Rich.
Hey, I'm glad you could come on. You know, we're here today to talk about a new special interest group at ACM. It's called SIGHPC. Cherri, what's this all about?
Well, SIGHPC stands for ACM Special Interest Group on High Performance Computing. And it's really the first time there has been an international organization that is devoted specifically to high-performance computing. And when I say high-performance computing and everything that we might cover today, I want to point out that we really are focusing on it in the broadest sense of that term. The full range not only of the high-performance technologies and systems that are developed and the people who are engaged in developing them, teaching about them, but also high-performance applications. And so that crosses an incredible number of domains, a lot of them obviously in engineering, the sciences, medical sciences, but increasingly in things like finance or social studies as well. There has never been this kind of organization that looks internationally at the cross-section of who the people are who are engaged in HPC and what kinds of things we have to share with each other.
So how did it get started, and how did you get involved?
We actually, different groups of us associated with, in particular with the SC conference series, have been talking for years about the need to have a year-round organization. SC11 is a huge draw for the community. We get 10 to 11,000 people each year, but it only is one event, and not everybody can come to it. But also, there's the issue of wanting to have programs that take place during the rest of the year. In some years, the SC conference actually has sponsored things like education workshops that took place in other countries and at other times of the year. We've started up new awards. We've started up new fellowship programs. Those aren't things that are really associated with an annual conference. They're part of what I like to think of as the really vibrant HPC community. So very many people over the years, have said what we really need is a year-round organization that can coordinate and expand on some of these other kinds of things that aren't limited to the November conference. And that's really where the idea was born. Sometimes I ask myself how I got involved quite so heavily in it. I would imagine that an informal setting and some alcohol were probably involved, but certainly around a year and a half ago, between a year and a half and 2 years ago, the discussion started taking on a more serious note that we really need to do this. And I did say that I would be willing to take on sort of the coordination and leadership of getting it started if I were sure I had some other people sitting around the table or that I could contact who would actually also take leadership roles in it, because it's obviously not something that one person can do. And it turned out that the response was quite overwhelming. Last year at SC10 in New Orleans, we held a town hall meeting to see what sort of the general SC community, at least that cross-section of high-performance computing, thought. And people who came, we had about 100 people come, and since it was in competition with other sessions, that's a pretty good turnout for an ad hoc, spur-of-the-moment thing at SC. They were uniformly supportive of it. Everybody said we've needed this for a long time. So based on that, and with their input from that group, I drew a lot of other support from people when I needed petitions, people to read documents. We had a small group. We formed an advisory group out of that pool, and it just grew from there. Well, I don't know if you want me to go ahead and talk about the kind of activities we are. Is that enough about what got started. It did take us roughly a year to get all the paperwork through ACM and to talk to the other groups. Maybe I should talk about why we are affiliated with ACM, because we actually looked at other organizations.
Right, because I wasn't familiar with their special interest groups. So why was that the center of this? What was the criteria there?
So every professional group that I've been familiar with has some sort of entity that pulls. It may be called a technical committee, it may be called a working group, it may be called a section, it may be called, in the case of ACM, a special interest group, where people who share some kind of disciplinary or topical interest group together. And quite a few of the professional societies nowadays, all the main action goes on in those groups. In ACM, certainly the bulk of the action goes on in the special interest groups. We did look at other professional organizations, and it actually brings up one of the more challenging aspects of SIGHPC and the HPC community, and that is because we span so many different disciplines, it's not easy to find an organization, a parent organization that is the obvious choice. Lots of our, if you consider SC11 attendees or the people that all of us work with in our daily lives, they may belong not only to ACM or the IEEE Computer Society or SIAM, but they might belong to the Geophysical Union, the Chemical Society, the British Computing Society, because they're from another country. So one of the things that was most challenging was how could we form an organization that a chemist or a physicist would want to join, as well as a computer scientist? And part of that answer had to be, it means we can't really require that they spend $100 a year to join the big society. We have to find some big society that will let us form our HPC group and only charge a very reasonable dues, recognizing that all of our people are already probably members of some large professional society. And ACM was actually the only one with whom we spoke that was set up to do that you can join SIGHPC without being a full member of ACM. Now, that said, there are lots of benefits to being a full member of ACM, and I think our members will gradually get to know what those are. But it was important to reduce the barrier cost, the entry-level cost, for people who are in other disciplines and for international people who already probably belong to a computing society or some other disciplinary society in their own country.
Sure. So what is involved with joining up then?
So actually, it's really easy. All people have to do is go to sighpc.org and follow the link on the homepage. The membership fee is $25 a year, and in honor of our opening and of SC11, we are running a special introductory rate of just $20 a year through the end of SC11, which means up to and including Friday, November 18th. After that, the dues will go up and be $25 a year. But it's simple to join there, and for those people who will be at SC11, we also have a booth that is going to be located in the main lobby right near the registration area, and we have computers there. People can sign up right away and be a member immediately.
So great, that's easy to get in. So what happens then? Do they start getting a newsletter? Are there going to be meetings? What happens after that?
So we're a virtual organization. There are going to be very few face-to-face meetings in terms of to run SIGHPC. That said, we are going to be sponsoring, co-hosting, cooperating with the major events. Obviously, we're just getting started. We only became a formal entity a couple of days ago, but we have every intent of being active in sponsoring and co-sponsoring lots of workshops and meetings in the HPC field. And one of the advantages of being a member is that for most of these, people will be entitled to a discounted membership rate. For example, we'll be doing a partnership arrangement of some sort next year for SC12. It's not sure exactly what that arrangement is called quite yet, but for sure it's already been discussed with the SC12 leadership that members of SIGHPC will get the discounted member rate for registration at SC starting in SC12, just as if they were a member of IEEE Computer Society or ACM. So that's definitely a benefit. But a lot of the things is that we want to be starting up new interest groups and smaller regional groups in different countries, around different kinds of industries and locations. And so the SIGHPC website is our intention is to make it like the home base for HPC, where you can go in and find out what's going on. We will have a regularly published newsletter for our online newsletter for our members, and that will talk about events, but also research news coming up, other things that people need to be aware of. We, right away in January, will be opening an online community calendar where people can see but also contribute information about all kinds of meetings or proposal solicitations or working groups, all kinds of things that might be of interest to people in the HPC world. We'll also be developing, starting next year, an online repository for HPC training materials and education materials. Also collecting, one of the challenges is finding a lot of materials related to HPC. For example, if I'm looking for technical reports or master's theses or PhD dissertations that involve, let's say, scalability improvements on a certain kind of multi-level memory hierarchy. Only some of those are published are in computer science, and so only some of them are available through the traditional repositories like the ACM Digital Library or IEEE's eXplore. A lot of them came out of students who were working, or faculty or research groups who were working in the area of physics or computational chemistry or aerospace engineering, and those aren't available through the traditional search mechanisms. So what we're going to do is mount a real campaign to find these materials and make them available in an online repository, including putting in keywords and searches that make it easier to find the things that HPC people want to see. You might not be interested in searching for flow control over the wing of an aircraft when what you really want to know about is multi-level memory hierarchies. And so we're hoping to fill a need that right now just isn't being met by anybody.
Well, Cherri, it sounds like a great cause. I mean, we always talk about how big the HPC community is that comes together at the SC shows, but it's always been this kind of amorphous thing that just draws like moths coming to the light once a year, and then they disperse, right? So this looks terrific. I did want to ask you a little bit about SC11, because you're always involved with those shows.
Before we do that, could I mention one more thing about SIGHPC?
Sure.
I just want to mention that another place we want to serve the community, and I do have to put in a little plug that we're already collecting names of volunteers for people who want to sign up, and that's also clear on the website, because what we want to do is make it possible to do things for the HPC community as a whole that haven't been possible before, not just developing those resources. Let me give a couple of other examples. Nominating HPC people for awards and honors. In other disciplinary areas, they have themselves all organized. Take the artificial intelligence community. They are really good about nominating people to get fellow not made fellows of professional societies or win national awards, because they sort of have a group that looks and watches for when the opportunities come along, and then goes out and digs up nominations and helps promote the process. We've never done that, and as a result, HPC people haven't been winning the awards that actually I think we have wonderful candidates for. So I think that's one opportunity. And another is to expand on this very small program that the SC Conference Series started, of sponsoring fellowships for students who are in HPC-related studies, for graduate students, not just giving them stipends that help them offset the cost of their education, but also providing linkages between them and companies or research laboratories where they can actually go and do visits and help them get internships as well, to make it more of a community instead of us being so segmented into your company or my group of universities or somebody else's national labs group. And I really hope that that's what we will have accomplished more than anything within 5 years, is building a sense of community among the HPC audience.
Well, terrific. I mean, certainly there's just so many people that really contribute to this community. It'd be great for them to have some kind of way to get recognized through that. So, terrific job there.
Great. So now you were asking about SC. So
I was.
That's fine.
Yes.
What's the question?
Yeah. So okay. So it's up in Seattle this year, and you're the housing chair, and has that presented any special challenges? I mean, are we expecting a lot of people this year?
We are expecting an incredible number of people this year, and one reason that I let myself get talked into being housing chair for SC11 is that housing has become something of a challenge for the SC conference as our attendance has grown. Everybody obviously wants to be located, half a block from the convention center, and that doesn't work out, and everybody also needs to get a great rate at a room. We've had very good people working on housing, and we have actually a housing contractor that handles a lot of the nitty-gritty and the paperwork. But the reason that I was asked to do housing this year was to sort of step back and take a look at how could we be more effective at doing this. We actually, SC as a conference tries to do that each year, tries to pick some target areas where maybe we could restructure things and do a more effective job that benefits our attendees a little bit better. So housing was a target this year, and a couple of the things that changed dramatically is that we started taking housing reservations 3 or 4 months earlier than we ever have before. And that allowed us to get more of a sense of what people needed and to expand the number of rooms available. We expanded them actually like 3 different times during the year as we saw that we were getting more and more people signed up. We also were able to help our exhibitors because they need, in addition to sleeping rooms, they're always anxious to find meeting rooms where they can host meetings during conference week that are, again, in nearby hotels. And that is always a challenge, and it is a big challenge in Seattle given the number of meeting room spaces available in nearby hotels. So we started that very early. The first emails about it went out in December of last year, and I worked with a number of the hotels one-on-one in January and the rest of them in February with the exhibitors, and we did matchmaking with them to get them spaces. So I'm hoping that so far the response has been very positive from the exhibitors and from people who were able to get rooms much earlier this year. And now we have a process in place that can be carried forward in future years. We are always looking for ways to improve, and in fact, I think the reason housing got chosen was partly in response to comments from people who filled in the evaluation forms for SC, so I'll put a plug into people to do that again this year. That's how we get our good ideas of how to improve things for the future.
Yeah, yeah, the squeaky wheels get the grease, right, Cherri?
That's correct.
So I heard a rumor that we might be setting an attendance record this year. Do you happen to know anything about that?
Well, it sure looks like we're going to break every record in the book. We don't know for sure yet because we typically get a lot of our exhibitor and exhibits-only registration and quite a few technical program registrations done on site. And, of course, that you've got as good a crystal ball as I do for that. But I will say for tech registration, we're already within spitting distance of breaking every record, and we're still we don't even open on site for another week and a half. So we're for sure going to break all the technical program records. We're for sure going to break the tutorial records, because if you just look at the lines and compared to where we've been in previous years, I think we're going to break every single record. It's clear that the HPC community is strong and is made up of a lot of avid supporters of SC, and I think we all appreciate that. I know I love being able to go to SC and see so many people that I know and interact with them again, and I think other people must as well.
Yeah, it's a great tradition, and that's really awesome to hear that it's continuing to grow as it is. So, Cherri Pancake, I want to thank you for coming on the show and telling us about SIGHPC today.
Thank you, Rick, and this is really exciting, and we will see each other. I'm sorry I said Rick. I meant Rich, of course, but I hope I will see you at SC11.
Oh, I'll be there running around with my red hat for sure, so we'll say hi.
Well, we'll at least wave at each other.
That's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on high-performance computing.